What is the reason behind why you make your decisions? The truth is, you probably don't know. Sure, maybe you have a vague idea of why you did something, or maybe you can even give a detailed explanation of it, but do you really understand? Like, really understand? Society forces us to put words to something we don't fully comprehend. We rationalize something that is irrational so that we can uphold our self-worth and our image of the world. Most of all, we have developed this rational mechanism to hold up the illusory image to others that we know what we are doing so that we can elevate our social status. I bet when you hear me say that, your immediate reaction is to disagree. You get defensive because you cannot wrap your head around there being a possibility of a reality where you don't understand the entity that you are most intimate with, yourself. You argue that you know yourself. You argue that you know why you do things. And if you don't, I'm sure you're familiar with the argument, I understand why I do what I do. It is because of X so that I can get Z. Cause and effect. Input, output. Really? I know that you believe yourself or you believe others when they say that. But I'm here to tell you, you shouldn't. Welcome to the Grateful Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Wagoner, and today I'm so excited to talk about the philosophy of behavioral decisions and our behavior and why we make decisions. I'm so fascinated in it. I will be studying neuroscience next year at Northeastern University, but for right now, I am a senior in high school. I'm going to graduate a month from last Monday, so pretty soon, like 3 weeks, and I am just super excited to be doing this today. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoy this or my podcast or whatever, just please send this to someone that you think could also benefit, because that's how we spread the word. That's how we make the world more joyful, more grateful, and just overall better humans in this world. So last week I took both the macroeconomics and the microeconomics AP tests. And when I finished them early, I just stared up at the ceiling, thinking about how I was taking a test on a science that is supposed to provide answers for why humans act in the way that they do, based entirely on the disproving concept of human rationality. What the heck? That was a long sentence. So basically, economics is based on this idea that humans make rational decisions, right? And recently I read The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball, where he talked about the works of Danny Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And they're two Israeli psychologists that actually won a Nobel Prize in economics because of their work in disproving the rationality of human beings. We are not rational, right? Here was one of the problems or examples of this in the book. Problem A. In addition to whatever you own, you have been given $1,000. You're now required to choose between the following options. Option 1, a 50% chance to win $1,000. Option 2, a gift of $500. Most everyone picked option 2, the sure thing, the sure win. Problem B. In addition to whatever you own, you have been given $2,000. You are now required to choose between the following options. A 50% chance to lose $1,000 and a sure loss of $500. Most everyone picked option 3, the gamble. The reference point, the point that enabled you to distinguish between a gain and a loss, wasn't some fixed number. It was a psychological state. They said, we propose that the present theory applies to the gains and losses as perceived by the subject. So this disproves rationality because it's the same equation. If you apply like the overall expected gain to both equations, you would have to pick the same thing, either the guarantee or the gamble. But people pick differently based on whether they're gaining or losing. So this is one of the things they did among many, many others that disproved rationality. So why am I taking the test then? If it's on this theory that I know, if everything about economics is based on this theory that I know is wrong. Well, some people don't bother to ask these questions. Some people find it boring, irrelevant. Some people find no appeal in the reasons behind the thing, and they just care about the thing. That is entirely okay. In fact, sometimes I wish that my brain wasn't all consumed in thinking about the reasons behind certain behaviors or facts of life. Sometimes I just want to be present in those experiences without thinking about why. And this leads me to thinking about why. Am I always thinking about why? Why am I so insatiably curious? Socrates told us that the unexamined life is not worth living. He believed that while thinking about why life is the way it is takes you out of living it in that moment there, living a life that you have not thought about the reasons behind is just as futile a pursuit. According to this logic, living a fulfilling life does require you to examine it a little bit. In order to live a life of meaning, you must first figure out why it is meaningful. You must dig in a little bit. You have to ask the hard questions and try to answer them. On a day-to-day basis, the examination of your thoughts is limited. As humans, we have evolved to become more efficient. That's just natural. Our brains and our bodies carry out implicit tasks on a moment-to-moment basis without us even noticing. It's actually pretty incredible. Our heart beats, our neurons fire, our digestive systems are at work. The thing that we think of as the individual or the conscious mind has no say in any of those things. If it did, we would be completely overwhelmed. Trust me, when I try to start, if I'm meditating and I get too deep and I'm too introspective with it and I can feel my heart beating or I'm really super in depth with the pattern of my breath, it's pretty crazy to be trying to, even observing all the decisions, like not even close to all the decisions my brain makes is a lot. So I can't imagine being in control of those things. That's why we've evolved the way we have. It's unrealistic to think that you can be completely 100% present or live a totally examined life, no matter what that online spirituality guru led you to think. I gave you those examples of implicit behavior above, so you would be more inclined to hear my next argument, or at least you won't feel as overwhelmed when I tell you what I believe the right amount of examination is. What if one platform could handle your CRM, proposals, scheduling, contracts, invoicing, subscriptions, project management, client portal, file sharing, marketing, all in one place? Meet SweetDash, the OG all-in-one business platform built to eliminate software overload and help you scale with confidence. With SweetDash, you get a single login and a unified system to streamline your workflows. You get powerful no-code automations that reduce manual tasks and put your business on autopilot. And here's the game changer. You get unlimited users and clients. That's right, no per-user fees. Add your entire team, your clients, your contractors with no additional charges. But SweetDash doesn't just build software, they build community. The roadmap is shaped by feedback from the community, and there are live support sessions to help you succeed every step of the way. Tens of thousands of small businesses and more than 1,000 five-star reviews on Capterra and G2. They all can't be wrong. You can try it for free, no credit card required, at SweetDash.com. That's SuiteDash.com. SweetDash, one login, one platform, one monthly price, unlimited potential. To get back to how I started, the balanced quantity of examination is when you examine the things that you can control, your decisions, when you examine your explicit behavior rather than your implicit behavior. This is no easy task, and to come back to Socrates, the better you think you know yourself, and the more you expect one answer, the more difficult this task will be for you. This mirrors Socrates' quote, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Now, I'm no expert on asking myself the right questions or examining my behavior, but I do plan on becoming one, that's for sure. For now, all I have is a shit ton of experience doing it, a ton of experience just asking myself questions, because that is what I do all the time. You see this podcast, and this is just one outlet for me to ask questions and be curious, and even pose these questions to other people who are interested and curious the way I am. What I found in my own personal experience is that my decisions are almost never simple enough to explain in words. especially the big ones. When I have to decide between things, I immediately feel a certain way. I'll give you an example. To keep it simple, let me provide my decision between Harvard and Northeastern. To be very transparent, I was waitlisted at Harvard and still haven't heard back. So this is a hypothetical constantly playing in my head that will maybe never have to be a reality, because while I was waitlisted at Harvard, and that's cool, I probably won't get in off the waitlist. But just in case I do, and you'll hear in a second, it won't really matter anyways, because immediately when I hear the names of the universities and I am focused on my body, I feel a sensation in my gut associated with each of them, with each university. The feeling for Northeastern is a light, hopeful feeling. It feels like freedom. The feeling I get for Harvard feels a little tighter, almost contracting. These are often the feelings I get when deciding between two things: a more open, expansive response and a tighter, contractionary response. What I've come to realize is that I make my best decisions when I follow that expansionary feeling. I've also realized I'm often unhappiest in the situations that result from me following a rational decision where I didn't listen to that expansionary feeling, where I go against that gut feeling. And I get that all of this could be made up. I know that it sounds somewhat crazy to make decisions based on this feeling that you have and have identified yourself. And I'm just as skeptical of it as you are. However, I think that we have lost what it means to know something. Well, there's no hard proof in the way that you think about hard proof, that me listening to this ineffable feeling will get me objectively better results in life. I think that there's plenty of proof in a way that is much more effective, much more trustworthy. I've listened to the feeling and felt happier. That's enough. When making decisions, we're often so caught up in what everyone else views as the right or the wrong thing. And we define the right and the wrong in the same way as everyone else. And we arrive at the conclusion of what is right and what is wrong in the same way as everyone else, using other people's work that, yes, have been reviewed and all of these things. But for me, I'm trying to get myself to the point where something can be true to me just because it has worked for me over and over. If something works for you, a lack of evidence should not stop you from doing that thing, because you have evidence in your personal life. You have all the evidence you need for you, right? Why are you looking for evidence from an outside source when you have seen it yourself? And this leads me to a question that I hadn't even thought of when I started this, but I wonder if our idea that we make decisions rationally based on economics has led us to believe that we are wrong for trusting our intuition, for having evidence in our lives that is subjective. So as a result of that, we train ourselves to make rational decisions because we believe it's better, meaning that economics and the theory of rationality are self-fulfilling prophecies. Do we try to rationalize our decisions and shut down our intuition because of us? Because that is what society has conditioned us to do. In my life, when I have decisions and behavior that have a good outcome, that should be enough to try to do that behavior again. In a business, if you do something and you get a good result, even if you don't know what necessarily you did or why it worked, you should double down on that because it got you the good result. This is how humans learn before they're societally conditioned. You think about a child in the candy aisle at a grocery store trying to get candy from his mom. At first, he's going to ask nicely, can I have candy? When his mom says no, he's going to start begging, please, 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 can I have candy? And when that doesn't work, he's going to throw a temper tantrum. And then when that works and he does get his candy, we question, why does this child throw temper tantrums to get what he wants? Because at one point he was shown that doing that, exhibiting this behavior, behaving in this way, gets the outcome he wants. So this is a way that we work as human beings, right? And so why have we tried to why do we rationalize things? My question for you is, would you rather make decisions that lead to regrettable outcomes with a solid explanation, or make decisions that lead to extraordinary outcomes with no explanation? So many times we think about, well, what if this fails? I'll need to be able to explain it to someone. You need to have confidence that when you trust your intuition, when you trust inside, you will succeed. You don't need an explanation for a success. You only need an explanation for a failure. So if you trust in yourself that you will succeed, that you will get the result that you want, you don't need to think about it in a rational way, because you know that you'll get there. And that's the way I'm trying to think about my life, right? Because most people would say, Jack, when you're choosing between the number one university in the world and a good university, but it's not the number one, you're always going to choose the number one. That's how a rational decision maker would go about that decision, right? Harvard graduates make twice as much as Northeastern graduates. All these different statistics. Those statistics, I don't feel them anywhere, right? This feeling is what I'm trying to trust. And I would rather, I trust that that feeling means that I would get an amazing result going to Northeastern. So if I get an amazing result, I don't need to explain it to anybody. You only need to explain the things that you failed at. And that's why so many of us, I think, don't live up to our potential, because we're always thinking about our image in the eyes of others. We're thinking about how can we uphold our reputation. And instead of thinking about how a success will uphold our reputation more than an explained failure, we just try to think about things that are easily explainable, is that even a word, to other people. I challenge you to not do that anymore. When you're making a decision, think to yourself, why am I making this decision? Take time, reflect, write, right? Examine your life, examine your behavior, examine your decision making, and try to find why. As I said, some people don't care about the why, but when you do find the why, you're able to reverse engineer and you're able to create a life that you really do enjoy. And a life that is truly yours, not one that you're living because of any other people's expectations, one that you're living for yourself, for your own expectations, for your own sake, right? If we just think about why we are doing certain things, it really helps us try to create the things that we want to do in the future. All right, so that's what I'm going to leave you with today. This is one of my favorite episodes I've done so far, solo episodes. I really enjoyed it, and if you did as well, I hope that you'll leave a like or subscribe to the Grateful Podcast wherever you're listening. Follow it, leave a review, share it with someone. I know there's so many things. Just pick one. Just pick one to do for today, and that would make my day. It's also Mother's Day when I'm recording this, and I know I'll be releasing it on Monday. But if you didn't wish your mom or mother figure a happy Mother's Day, make sure to do so. Moms are amazing. All right. Love you all. Thank you for listening. Stay grateful.